Hi Freelancer, welcome to today's episode of the Freelance Blueprint. Today we're joined by Ricardo, an editor turned communication coach. He used to edit for the BBC, Disney Channel, Universal, you name it. But after a while he realized that that's not what he wants to be doing for the rest of his life. He noticed how many people are quite different in front of camera, but they only see the perfectly edited version. And that's the version most of us compare ourselves to. So he has decided to become a communication coach and help people go from shy to fly in front of the camera. In this episode, we talk about how he started freelancing and what it's like to transition from one career path to another. Let's find out more about his freelance journey. Hi, Rick. Thanks for joining the call today. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from London.
Have you always lived in London or did you move there?
I was actually born here in the same hospital as Prince Harry and Prince William, St. Mary's. But obviously we didn't have like a red carpet. They've got a separate section, like they have a private wing and stuff. But yeah, I grew up in London. Yeah.
Cool. But I also saw a lot from your travels that, like from your content, that you traveled a lot in the past. Was that pre-COVID, post-COVID?
Oh, good question. It was mostly pre-COVID and actually during COVID. I was in Thailand during COVID in Chiang Mai.
Nice. Yeah, that's what we also talked about there. If I didn't know anything about you, but I would meet your best friend, how would they describe you to me?
Oh, tall. Or that's how I look, I guess. I get told, like, on my travels, I get told that I'm like Michael Jordan or Barack Obama. People call like, ah. But I think my friends would say like I'm very like kind and caring, have a nice heart. But maybe my partner would say very different things. Like, yeah.
What would they say? They wouldn't say you're kind-hearted?
Yeah, no, they would.
I actually connected with you after I did an Instagram live with Alex, and it was about online branding, social media branding, and that's, I think, the first time I saw your profile. And one thing that stuck with me was your, I don't know if it's called a tagline, but it's the shy to fly. And I quite like it because it's very short and very quickly summarizes what you do. Can you tell the listeners a little bit what you mean by that and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a communication coach. So I help people or professionals, content creators, just who are shy, become fly on camera, right? So, I mean, yeah, I specialize on camera, but it can be any situation. It could be public speaking. Sometimes it's to do with Zoom calls, like how you show up on a Zoom call. And because often we like overthink things and we just get so in our own head that we pull away and we don't do it. Or, we say, oh, tomorrow, mañana.
How did you start with that?
How did I start? So you could say it's to do with the whole going to Thailand where you find yourself. I actually have been a TV editor for about 12 years now. And it's definitely a very good career. Like I was freelance. I wasn't in-house. And so that job, doing that for such a long time, and then one day I was sat in an edit and there was this editor who's like maybe 20 years older than me, and I can't remember what he said, but I had this sinking feeling which was like, oh my god, I know what the next 20 years of my life is going to be like. And it's like, it would be good, like editing TV shows for like Netflix, BBC. This is stuff that people, whenever I say it to them, like, oh, I'm an editor, people are usually like, wow, that's so cool, and they want to know more. But now I'm transitioning away. I've been doing it's been a slow process, but it's happening bit by bit. And now I'm coaching more. And I say I'm a coach, it does not get the same response. So it's a bit of a strange feeling, it's like, oh god, another coach. Oh my god, are you for real? I think, and then I feel myself honestly want to be like, I'm an editor as well, guys. I have got a real career. But it is still real. It's all real. It's just getting more comfortable. And that's what I'm working towards, and getting more comfortable as being a coach. And the other aspects of the coaching, that's like speaking and workshops. I feel like that's the same for people when it comes to just showing up on camera. It's like we feel uncomfortable because it's something new, it's something different. And so it's our job to, or my job, to help that person, take them on that journey of like, okay, what is it that you want to do on camera? How can that serve you in your business? And yeah, going on, just helping take them through gradually. Yeah.
How do you feel about the term coach? Because similar to you, I'm also transitioning. I'm a UX designer. That's my main income. But as much as I enjoy it, and as much as every now and then you get an exciting project with a challenge that you've not had to tackle before, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest, like similar to what you said, this, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? And I love the freelancing part. I still want to have control of my time and everything. But at the same time, just doing one thing feels a little bit not boring, but I feel like not challenged. And I'm also transitioning into the whole coaching stuff, but I also don't like the word coaching, even though I help people get their first freelance gigs. I help them create portfolios where people come to them instead of them constantly having to cold outreach, how to use them, like all this kind of stuff. So I help them achieve their goals, but at the same time, calling myself a coach feels so icky. And I guess it's similar because you mentioned you don't get the same reaction from people when you say you're an editor or a UX designer as when you say you're a coach. So do you think it's just that uncomfort? Because did you feel the same when you started as an editor? Did you feel icky calling yourself an editor?
Um, yeah, I didn't. But I think that's because I always knew it was very different going into editing because I was just so like, it was just, that was it. That was just what I did. Like, I don't know. And I was quite young.
How did you get into editing?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like, I guess, you know, when you see TV on, when you watch TV back in the day when people actually watched TV, and I found myself seeing like a shadow, like of a helicopter on a TV show, and then just no sound of the helicopter. And I was like, what? How can I see this shadow of the helicopter but no sound? And it was something so small, but I got really interested in all of that stuff. So I did psychology at university,
Hmm.
but I also knew I wanted to do something film and TV related. So I went and I directed a short film. I ended up going, so the university I went to is called Essex University. So I actually made a student TV channel there called SX TV. The slogan was
Mhm.
"I'm an SX addict," and we actually got nominated for like best marketing awards. Um, yeah, like we made like little condoms, which we put onto the club, the nightclub. Yeah, I'm not sure that would fly in professional marketing, but it was enough to get us an award as a student. Um, and then the next, when you finish your degree, you then, it's like starting over again. So you have to
Yeah.
now start looking, but I don't know anyone in the industry. So I'm like, well, who do I know that might know someone, if that makes sense? And yeah, it took me 8 months just to figure out that question, like, who do I know that might know someone? And my auntie was someone who is a choreographer. And so she did know a director. I had coffee with that director, and I asked that director if I could sit in on her edit. I sit in on the edit for an hour. It's another woman, so two females, female editor. And she was like just super fast. And that editor's husband, he was running an apprenticeship scheme. So I basically signed up and became a mentor. He was my mentor. But yeah, it's interesting because like you know you have to apply for these things, and this is the power of certainty, right? Or at least when you're presenting yourself, you have to have a level of certainty because by the time it came to that interview and the editors asking me all these questions, I was just so certain and set, like, this is what it is, this is what I'm doing. And I had evidence like, here, look, this is what I've done at university, which is practical. It's nothing to do with the degree itself, even though I do not regret my degree because I know, like, I've listened to some of your other episodes and I understand your position with university, and you left after second year. Is that correct? Did
I
you leave
um
university?
I left film school.
Film school. Oh,
Yeah.
and then you went to advertising.
Yes. So I actually, yeah, so I did my A levels, then I went to film school, which I left not because I lost my passion for film, but because the way they handled the school, it was terrible. We were meant to have 30, 40 hours of lessons, but we had 4 to 5, and it was just a waste of time. We were just sitting there. The only thing I'm going to tell you about that later was the acting part, because I also want to hear your opinion on that. And after that film school, I did 2, 3 years working behind a cashier. And that's when I then, while I did that, I went to university, which I also didn't finish, but university in Austria is free. Someone told me you can do it next to a full time gig, which is not right.
What?
Yeah. So that's why I didn't finish, because it was just I didn't have the time. And then I went to advertising school, and they had a partnership with the UK university, and that's the degree that I then got, and it was about advertising and branding. It's not that I don't
Awesome.
like university. I still very much value the connections I've made, but I think nowadays what you learn in 3 years you can do in a course in a month, or and also the money investment, the time investment. But on the other hand, it's a very strong network that you can create during university. So
Yeah, that is actually the point that I was going to make, which is, because I feel like when people say against university, it's always about the education part, which I agree with. But I always felt like people are missing the fact that there's a network that comes from it and the connections that you make from university. But you could argue you can still make connections in a network without university today as well. But I feel like when everyone's kind of the same age and there's like a similar camaraderie, you're all entering adulthood, or most of you at that sort of same time, it's a different kind of relationship that will always carry through for many years. But that aside, I agree with you in terms of university. It's like, yeah, especially post COVID, because now a lot of their
mm,
classes are on Zoom. Like,
yes,
what?
I feel so sorry for the people that went to university during that time, because one of the most exciting experiences got taken away from you, and it's not your fault, and you will probably not be able to recreate it as such.
Yeah, I don't think you
So
can.
yeah, so you did have this apprenticeship internship. Yeah, what happened from there? Because did you go straight into freelancing, or did you have a permanent job before?
I was freelancing. That job was 6 months. Then after that job, I went into, like, I had no work because it's like being freelance, right? And I managed to get a job with this production company that also made quite a lot of big shows. And that was for like 6 months. But in that time, I very quickly knew I was not going to be an employee. I had to edit a little show, like a development tape, we call them. And it was actually about a coach, life coach. And I got so into it. I took the footage home, I edited it really well. And then one day, it was like a Friday, and the owner of the company walked in. And because I did all my other little jobs, because I was an assistant editor at the time, which is just dealing with the files and the footage and stuff like that. And they, the owner of the company saw this life coach video I edited, and he was like laughing his head off. He was like, "Wow, this is so good," blah blah blah. And I didn't think anything of it. But the next day, I get called into a room. There's three people, the post production supervisor, who's like the head of my department, and then there's two other heads of of different departments or whatever. They basically tell me off for trying to jump the line of command or whatever. Basically, there was above me, to get to editor, there was me, the assistant, there was the assistant above me, and then there was a post production head, and that guy, then there was an editor above him. So basically, it would be like 5 years to get to editor. And I was
Oh God.
like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not waiting around for that. So I left and I managed to get an agent and also just looking for jobs myself. So it's been a mixture of the two at the start of my career.
What do you mean when you say you got an agent?
I realize agents are everywhere. So you could argue Airbnb, Uber, these are all agents in the sense that they are connecting you with a service that you need or a job. So you're getting work. So I was an Airbnb host for a little while. And what happens, I don't have to do the effort of trying to gain clients to come to my Airbnb house, to come to my house. Airbnb will find those people for you. So it's the same process with the editing. When you need an edit job, you just have the agent, but who has a whole network of people that they know, and those people, those companies, production companies, might come to them asking for work, asking, "Do you have any editors?" And also, it becomes reputable, right? If they've got a reputation, then more people are going to go to them, and so you can go to them yourself, but they always get a cut of money, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so after a while, it's like, ooh, and you're still getting work yourself. So it's like, maybe I shouldn't have an agent. I'm exploring this with speaking as
So
well.
did you, it's like a recruiter basically, because also some of the first gigs I got were because recruiters approached me, who were hiring for UX designers. And then sometimes you get another gig for another company through the same recruiter. And at the same time, you have that other company reach out to you because they want to work with you again. So it's kind of a ripple effect. Once you get that gig, that network. When was the moment for you? Like you said, it was while you were traveling and self-realization that you said you will leave editing behind and go towards communication. Yeah. So when was that moment and why communication?
Great question. Oh, you're good at this, Liz. So basically, yeah, the TV thing. Sorry, I'm now like, oh god, because there's so many things coming to my mind. It's like, how do you just simplify, keep a message simple? So that I mentioned before about me editing like this life coach video that I then got in trouble for. So I was always exposed to coaching, and also I did psychology as a degree. So I always want, and I love working with people one on one. It's kind of allowing me to fulfill my psychologist dream, especially when you actually help them and they actually do grow and you see them become more confident. That's always good. So it's always been brewing probably the whole time I was doing the TV career. But once I was traveling, I don't know what it is about traveling. Maybe it's the fact that you're seeing things through a child's lens again, because you're seeing things that as an adult you would take for granted because you just live there and you don't, it's all just background noise.
You know Vin? You probably know Vin.
I do.
Yeah. So I joined his course masterclass. So he did one of those package sales where you can buy the course and then join one of those live workshops. And I did that because when I buy a course, I never do it. Because when you watch it in your own time, I have a ton of other things to do that I'd rather do. So I always sign up when there's like a workshop. So it kind of forces me to do the course content. And I didn't do the course content yet, but the workshop starts and it's like, okay, I just join. So I'm in day 3 of 5. And yeah, that's what I did in the morning.
Oh, that's interesting. How is that's yeah, because I would say he's like the top person of what I would want to do. Once I discovered his work, I was like, oh, this is more the direction I want to go in, because I was doing something slightly different before that. How is the course?
I like it a lot. It's 2.5 hours for 5 days, which is a lot, especially nowadays to keep people's attention. But he set it up in a really good way. He explains things really well. He tells you why something is important or explains it, and then you understand why you do what you're doing. Yeah, the only thing I would say is you do those things, you learn what to do, you do it, but then you don't get direct feedback after because you're in breakout rooms. So that's the thing where I'm probably getting better because I'm applying what I'm learning. But then I don't know if what I'm learning or like what I've applied, what is good or bad. And he also teaches to self-assess and progress and keep iterating. But at the same time, you're not aware of things sometimes. So maybe that will come later. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
just film myself and do those things. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. I highly recommend it.
But it's very interesting that you say that, because that's something about the feedback. That's something that has come up for people when they're working with me. They're like, oh, what's really nice working with you is you actually get that feedback. It's like live feedback. And it's, because for example, yeah, it was this girl who worked with groups, and she was just like, no, she wasn't happy with the group that she worked with, because the group coaching, it wasn't personalized enough to her. So, but that happens when someone gets big, right? They don't have time to
Exactly.
give to
Yeah.
individuals.
That's what I was about to say, because he is huge. He has a couple million followers on Instagram. There are over 300 people in this workshop, and he has 2 camera setups. He has an assistant. Like there's all these yeah, so it's huge. But you learn a lot. You get the knowledge from someone who's done it for 10, 15 years compressed into that time, but at the same time you don't get the personal feedback. So I also think it's better to work with someone who's smaller, because it doesn't mean that they're not as good, but because they're smaller or not as well known, they can give you more time and they're more affordable. And I feel the same with my coaching, because I've been in group coaching programs myself, and the bigger it gets, the less tailored it is to you. And in a way, it doesn't speed up your progress as much because it's not that specific for you. And that's what I hear from my mentees. It's the accountability. I actually follow up with them on their to-do list. It's not like I recommend do this and you go your own way. It's more like, have you done this? Have you reached out to this potential lead? Have you done that? Okay, if you didn't reach out, why? What's your mental blocker? How can we tackle it so you feel comfortable to do that? Things like that. So you wouldn't get that from a group coaching. And it's one thing saying, okay, this is my goal. Getting where Vin is would be amazing, but also it takes time to get there. But also, still from a research type of view, I think it's very interesting to sneak in and also join coaching programs myself, because I just wanted to see how they did it. They had the same target audience, they would teach something similar. And it's okay, you're a couple steps ahead. What do you do? What can I copy from that or borrow? And what could
Mm.
I improve on? So I would, yeah, I think it's worth the money. Would you recommend people to, yeah, get an agent?
For getting an agent, it's okay. It's not necessarily essential, I would say. It's helpful, like an agent is helpful at the beginning of a career if you need help getting work. But as you get more clients and you work with more people, then it's less so. It's less necessary.
How did you find that first freelance gig? Do you remember?
Connections. Basically, you have to, yeah, just follow the people that you know, if you know what I mean. So, like reaching out to them, connecting, trying to show your interest. So, this is what I'm doing right now with regards to speaking gigs and workshops.
One thing that you said that I find quite interesting is that you didn't want to do the 5 year wait list, climb up the hierarchical ladder. And one thing that I was talking to about to one of the previous podcast guests, I was saying it's so funny how everyone thinks you have to get this proper corporate job, climb up this ladder. That why can't you skip it? If you're good at it, why can't you skip it? Why do you have to force yourself through this process? And I was talking about the marketing team that is behind permanent jobs, because why is it that everyone thinks it's that great when freelancing, in my opinion at least, is so much better? Because there you can just say, I'm an editor. Maybe you never done a huge movie before, but you can edit. You will know the basics, and you don't have to instantly go into editing for Netflix, but you can start editing a reel for some YouTuber. You can start small and make it based on your skill set and improve from there, instead of having to do 5 years in the corporate. What would you recommend someone? I know you do both coaching and editing, but what would you recommend to someone who wants to become an editor if they were to start today?
what you said, yeah, you would just do it. You have to actually create. It's true for literally any of these skills. It's always the same thing. If you're going freelance, what people expect is that you already have the skill that you're being hired for. When I get hired to be an editor, me knowing the skill of the software and using the software is an expectation. Like when you're doing UX, I don't need to know about how you're going to make the website or whatever design. I just have an expectation that I'm getting the end result. So your job, if you're looking, whatever freelance gig you're looking to get into, is to learn the softwares. This is all the background stuff that your clients don't care about. It's like, just, you have to understand all of that and then use that skill to then implement like the actual work. Yeah. So for example, it's with editing, there's a lot of videographers, they will focus a lot on the technical side of things, and this is great. What happens is you get a very beautiful image, and this is all what the corporate people expect if you're going into corporate world or even weddings. But when it comes to TV, it's slightly different because it's very narrative driven, and this has also influenced how I help people with on camera work, because you don't need to have the most pretty video. You don't need it to be visually interesting. It helps sometimes, but the best thing is actually is what you're saying. It's the words, it's how you're showing up on camera, how you're presenting yourself. So yeah, it's like, if you're trying to be freelance, it's just knowing what are the core things that really will help get the results that your client wants.
Yeah. And personally, I never officially learned how to do UX. I learned it on the job, which I think is very, very lucky, because nowadays so many people try to get into this industry and I somehow accidentally fell into it. And I feel a bit embarrassed to say that, because it's a career path many people strive for. And I feel like it just got handed to me. And I heard people say, oh no, it wasn't just luck. You also showed what you could do. You learned and things like that. But now when it comes to coaching, I feel a bit more, I try to get into that. And it's not necessarily that I want to coach people. I enjoy it a lot, but I'm also trying to find the balance of creating this work life that works for me. As I don't have such a nice tagline as you, but I want to help people, but at the same time, I want to help myself, because that's the reason I have my business. And I don't want to be stuck in front of a Zoom call every single day. Every now and then, I like it. I enjoy it a lot. Like, for example, the podcast recordings are some of the favorite things I'm doing. And I love the coaching calls, especially when someone just gets it and you're there and you can see it happening, when the mindset shifts and things like that. But at the same time, I don't always want to be forced to be in front of my laptop. How do you manage your day to day to make sure that it works well, both for your clients, no matter if it's the editing and coaching, but also for yourself, that you can design your work life so it works for you?
Well, actually, here specifically in the UK, in London, I have this work share space, co-working, well, it's similar to WeWork, but it's much more like homegrown. So that is where I go to now create a bigger divide between my work day and my like home life day. When I'm traveling, it's a different story, because the question is, when you're traveling, do you want to still be working a little bit here or there, or is it you actually need to switch off and put it to the side? And I remember in one of your podcast episodes, you said that, sometimes you bring your laptop and you've got it and you don't regret that, because, you might only use it for an hour. And I'm actually the same. I remember going on a holiday with my partner, and he, he was like, oh, why do you always bring your laptop? And I'm like, well, I might need to search for something, like for like the restaurant or that we're going to, whatever. But it's actually also so if I need or feel like I need to do work, then I can. Or if I try not to have calls, basically, but sometimes I do, and it's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's like one or two clients and I'm on holiday, I might say like, okay, let's just have a break. But if for whatever reason they need to do the call and I'm still on holiday, then that's fine. I can do that 1 hour. Like it doesn't matter. What about you? Oh, well, I think we already know. Although you can tell me. What about you?
Yeah. Well, not everyone has listened to all the other episodes so carefully like you
Exactly.
do. I
That's
feel
why.
like
Yeah, that's
I
why.
feel very
Exactly.
it's so nice that you actually listen to them, because I do see the stats, but it still baffles me when it's, oh, someone from the US has listened to this. So it's someone who I unlikely know. And it's just nice to see that people listen and seem to care. But yeah, for me, it's, if it's an hour here or there where I work and then it allows me to extend my holiday for like 2, 3 weeks, then of course I'm going to do it. And also, I get extremely icky if I don't do anything. I don't think it's a waste of time to do nothing, but at the same time, I think it can be used to get closer towards my goal. So why not do it? And because I created this every day, day to day, where I can have the choice to, I just do a 3 hour long lunch break, or I just go to surf in my lunch, whatever it is. I don't feel like hopping on a call at 11 p.m. at night because I'm in a weird time zone is a terrible thing, because I get all this other freedom. So it's a scale that I decide for myself. Where do I want to put work? Where do I want to put private pleasure? So yeah, and it's difficult. I don't always get it right. So sometimes I'm on a Friday night, it's like, oh, why did I schedule this call? But you learn from those things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Absolutely. Yeah, if the call's at a really weird time and then you've already committed to it, you have to do it. I mean, even this call, I mean, this is not inappropriate, to be honest. It's like really early in the morning if you're listening for me, and it's in the evening for Liz. But I've had calls where I had to be up at 5:30 in the morning to
Oh,
start the call. So, and at the time it was winter, so it was nighttime. And actually, they were also in Thailand. So, yeah, it was around the time I was in Thailand and then came back to the UK. So, yeah, it happened. But actually, when I see because I also like with your videos and your profile, and it's really cool because you show that, like, you show how, for example, would be like stress laxing. This is the process that we go through as freelancers. Like,
yeah.
we have this worry, we have this sense of like, I'm not doing enough. I am doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I am doing it. And there's this
Yeah.
fight, between life and pleasure. I noticed as well because you don't have on yours, you don't do talking head videos. Is there a reason?
I did a few of those, but I don't know. I sometimes wonder, do people actually care about what I have to say? Is it that valuable? And also, it takes more time to do those, and I make a lot of mistakes. The thing is, you probably know this, you're an editor, but for this 30-second video that you see, there's so many takes, and there's so many times where you're, should I use this take or that take, or maybe use this bit of here, and or maybe if I change the script, it makes more, and it's just so much time. So I try to find a more efficient way to post content, but yeah, maybe I should do a couple more of those. Not sure.
For me, it's always interesting because, yeah, people find it easier to put it off. And there's something about, especially you, when I listen to you on your podcast and I get a sense of who you are, and you have interesting things like the fact that, you're half Thai and half Austrian.
Yeah.
So these sorts of things, it's like you get access into someone's world. It's like you're hearing them speak. Like one little video, even is so simple, but you had the like turtle crawling on your hand, and this is like actuality. So it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's true, it doesn't have to be speaking, but sometimes it can be voiceover. So it's like 12 reasons that you should live in Thailand. Well, that was a cool video, and you got loads of flashy cuts. But it's almost like if I could just hear you tell me one reason that's at your core that means something to you, then that can be just as impactful. And to reduce the editing, we would want to have, yes, practice those takes. You can record for literally like 10 minutes, maybe even half an hour. But within that, once you warm up, you get that like moment, and it can be like a little golden nugget of 30 seconds where, you know, it just works. So I think you would do good, but obviously everyone is each to their own.
Yeah. I'm planning to do more of those because, yeah, it's one thing using some reel that's just trending and you add your stuff to it and you add a little twist to it and hope that people read the caption, but it's another thing when you really engage. And I quite like your content as well. Also, the whole, you seem very, you know, dapper, very set up, but then you sometimes just like zoom into the camera or almost take the phone into your mouth. It's I don't think I would be able to do this, like being this expressive. What would you tell someone, and you're the perfect person to ask for that, who wants to become more confident in front of the camera?
Well, it is practice makes perfect, but also there is no perfect. It is, you know, it's like, yes, I want to be confident. Well, actually, it's not so much you want to be confident, it's actually you want to be comfortable. Because when you're comfortable on camera, like I have what's called the 4 R's. And the first stage is relax. You need to feel relaxed before you go on camera. And we can do different ways. As at the beginning of our call, I got my little coffee. I actually had a little 5-minute meditation before this call, because this is still on camera and I still have moments of nervousness or distraction because we've had a little bit of issues with the like internet and stuff. So this stuff always happens, but it's like we always have to realign and remind ourselves, I'm actually talking to you, the audience, and I'm talking to Liz, and I'm trying to share a message. So this is true for all of you. It's like, this is true for you, Liz, right? Like, you have that message, you have that passion. So one of the things that I then say is, okay, you're relaxed now. Now you hit record. When you hit record, you might immediately be like deer in the headlights again, like, "Ah!" And all the relaxed stuff has gone away. I say it like, you know, when you walk into a room in a social event and there's lots of people and you feel a bit uncomfortable, it's the same as going onto a Zoom call and there's a group of people, maybe there's like 3 or 4, and you don't know anyone except the host. That feels nervous, you know, anxious at first. So you just want to spend that time. If you stay in that room, over time, you're going to get more relaxed and you're going to get more into the flow of the conversation. We want to do this with video. So when you're recording yourself, even if you feel uncomfortable again, you do not pause, you just keep recording. And as time goes on, you might get more relaxed. So what happens with when I'm recording, I also have loads of takes, but I know that I'm going to warm up. So as I'm talking to the camera and I'm messing up, and then eventually I get a really good cut towards the end of what I've recorded. It's like, oh yeah, I've got high energy and I'm talking, this is great, blah, 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 blah. What happens is if I've got a good end, I will then go back to the beginning and record and save the stuff at the beginning of my script of the video, but now with that higher energy. So by the time it gets edited, I'll take just the end chunk and the end chunk, which is the new beginning, put it in front of the second half. It gets a bit complicated, but so it looks like I have high energy from the get-go on some of my videos. But in reality, if I was to have only recorded it live, which is why I love lives, because you have to face the music with that. But you're seeing high energy at the beginning, when in reality, what I've recorded, I probably was incredibly rusty at the beginning. And so my point is, if you want to get confident on camera, you want to do your best to feel more relaxed, because when you're more relaxed, you're more comfortable. When you're more comfortable, you're more yourself. Okay. And it's like, once you record for 10 minutes, do not pause. And then it's, reviewing your work and repeating the process.
I got 3 hours. So you said you have 4.
Yeah, I have 4 R's. So yeah, the review process is the third R. And this is where, if you're doing it alone, then you would review and now work out like what did you, so you watch it back. You can watch it back multiple times. One, the first time you watch it back, is how you look, like your body language, how you're moving. The second time, it can be the sound, how you're speaking, your voice. And what would happen in that review stage when working with me is I will help give you that feedback. So it's like, I will let you know, like, this is what I think you could improve on. And then there's loads of tools to actually improve on these little things, which is really fun. That's the fun part, because that's where the growth is. Once that's done, you then repeat that process. So the 4 5s repeat. So it's like, okay, you're happy. And what I try and do is get people to talk about something that they're passionate about. But yeah, go on. Sorry. Now I'm getting passionate, so I'm like interrupting you.
But it's funny because, the thing we were talking before, I don't know if it was when the internet cut out or not, but one of the things that stuck with me from film school, and I still think until today it's one of the best things, was they told us that we have this guy from America here for a week, and if you're interested in becoming a director, it's very good to know what it's like in front of the camera. So you know what to tell people to do what you want them to do in front of the camera. So we did acting for a week, and I was like, oh my God. And it's the first time you hear your voice recorded. Why does everyone else sound normal, but I sound so weird? This is my real voice. Oh my God, oh my God. Everyone goes through that phase. And it's also with your face, because when you look in the mirror, you see yourself mirrored. You don't see the way the camera looks at you, and from angles, like, oh my God, my double chin. What? This is what my hair looks like. So all of these kind of things. Sit with it, stuck with it. Like, that's just how it is. You've looked like this your whole life. Now you just became aware of it, but you still have friends. You still have people who love you. So it doesn't give a shit. You look better than you think you look, and you sound better than you think you sound. So that was the first phase. But the main takeaway was also the acting part. So similar to how you say you try to relax before you come on camera, it's now when I go into a job interview, I'm acting. So I'm still myself, of course, but I'm going in there with this idea I'm going to get this job. So I'm acting the person who will get this gig. And I think that's similar to what you said before, where you go in with the confidence and just being certain about who you are, and then you can't do anything wrong. And I think that gave me that certainty of, okay, I'm going into this, and whatever I'm going to say, I'm going to get my dream job. And if it's not this job, I learned something from this interview, which will then help me in the next interview. And then at the end of the movie, everyone's happy. The protagonist got the gig, done and sorted. So, and I think also with communication, it's a bit of acting, because especially in front of camera, you don't get everything across as you would in real life. You have to be over exaggerative. You have to be over with your tones and voice, and maybe more elaborate, and gestures to make it transition, if someone's just listening to the sound, that you are passionate about things. What are a few things that people could do, like the common mistakes you see people do in front of a Zoom call, which would make it much easier for them to communicate better?
I mean, you actually mentioned one of them. So all of this stuff about acting, I always find it interesting. It's like you want to amplify your persona. It's like your persona, who you are. You still want to stay true to you, but you want to do certain things like raising the level of your voice. So many people, they might talk and they might mumble, and they might. Actually, this is something I did quite a lot. I would mumble, and people would get, like, at work, they'd be like, what? I was an editor. Editors want to be in a dark room. This is great. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to have to talk to anyone. It's like, ugh. So one of the things to do, is just raising your voice 1 or 2 notches above your current level. So there's a tool called the voice projection tool. And one of my clients, Christian, he often talked really quiet. So we had to go, and you want to show the range, right? So in terms of your persona, we want it still to be always authentically you. If your persona is so far away from who you are that you feel fake, it's not going to work, because you're now not being honest. And people pick up on that. People can sense it. Even if they're not sure exactly what's wrong, they can still sense it. The first level would be 0, is like mute. Four is like your level of voice where you want to say something shady to somebody else, but you don't want other people to hear. And then 5 is now getting more to your normal voice, but it's more of your gentle voice. And then 6 is now it's getting a bit louder. And then 7 is the voice, the level that I normally talk at on a Zoom call, because it just allows my voice to echo a little bit more and come out. And so it sounds a bit more confident. It sounds like I know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm talking about, but if I'm a little uncertain, but my voice is carrying through with this level of 7 rather than a level of 4 where it's like I sound a little uncertain, then that's the difference, just raising it just 1 or 2 notches above your level. And then 8 is like getting a bit unrealistically loud. 9 is pretty much shouting, and 10 is shouting, So you want to see those levels, because then this is what I love about Shy to Fly. It's like, because we play with the whole range. And when you play with that range, you get a better sense of, okay, I feel very uncomfortable at 10. This is uncomfortable. 0 doesn't work. So where's your range? And with Christian, it was like, he didn't feel comfortable talking at a 7 or an 8 because he's quite a gentle soul. And so we had to work on, yes, still projecting that voice, but still being true to who you are and doing other things. So making sure, for example, now in his videos, the eye contact is so good. He's always staring directly at the camera, and he's just got this real like poised sense of like focus, and like he's going to say something really deep, and that really works. So I give you long answers. I apologize, but it's like, to get to the point, it's this whole, if you want to feel more confident on camera when you're speaking, you want to just change little things. And Liz is completely right. It can be a persona. It doesn't always have to be, but that there is an element of presenting that is like a slightly different version of you. So ask yourself, who is that version of you? What does that version of you look like, and how does that version of you act? And can you step into that?
Well, one thing that I'm learning from this current workshop, it's that this authenticity is who we think we are, and that if we get outside of this common range, so for was it Christian, I think, yeah, so for him, for example, if 4 is comfortable, he can still do an 8, 7, 8, like not 10. He can scream, but he just doesn't do it a lot. So that's why it's uncomfortable. But if you spend more time there, it becomes more comfortable. Same way that the first time I did a talking video, I was like, oh my God. And I was so scared to post it. And now I don't even do several recordings. I'm like, especially if I just do an Instagram story where it's live for 24 hours and then it's gone. I just talk straight into the camera. If I have something between my teeth, I don't care anymore. I'm not over analyzing before I hit post, because I've done it so many times. The world is still turning. I'm still alive. My parents, thank God, still love me. So what can really happen, I mean, that also comes from a very privileged point of view, because I'm from a country where you can say whatever you want and politicians are not going to go after you. But that's a separate topic.
Yeah, that is.
Out of curiosity, I'm going to do a little Steve Bartlett here. So anyone who doesn't know, he has one of the, where you say where you want to get to with Vin, I want to get to with my podcast, like Stephen Bartlett, but it's going to take time.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and he was saying in his last couple of seasons, he asked a question someone else would have asked, whereas now he asked the person, what's a tip you would give to Stephen Bartlett? So now that you've seen me talk in front of camera and speak, what would you give me as a recommendation to improve?
Oh, well, I think you already have a lot going well for you, given that you do a podcast. And so we get to see you in a very natural sense. And I would just want to see more of it, really. So it's like you say, you do your stories, and that's true. We get to see you on your stories. I'd have to watch you doing a video to give you actual feedback specific to that. I guess a part of me would want to hear a bit more personal things about you. Not so personal, but stuff that you can sprinkle it a little bit everywhere. I mean, for me, the fact that you're half Thai is really, really cool. And I have cousins who are there. I asked them where do people think they're from, and everyone would say Turkey or Spain, but their mum is a white French woman, and their dad is my uncle, is a Saint Lucian. And so what you have when you are mixed race is an incredibly unique perspective on the world, because it's unique enough to be Austrian because there's not many Austrians, and there's a lot of Thai, so it's a little less unique to be Thai, but to be both Thai and Austrian, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, you don't want to give so much personal stuff that it distracts from the message, so being freelance. Yeah.
I think any mixed race person will have a bit of an identity crisis. For me, it's not that rare. I know a couple other Thai Austrians, but of course I know way more Austrians and I know way more Thai than mixed ones. But it is a unique perspective, but you also feel a bit detached because not everyone goes through the same experience as you. But yeah, I'll try and put a bit more content out there. But communication wise, voice, eye contact, like I noticed that's something I really like, looking into the camera. That's what I should be doing. So that type of Zoom communication, what would you say?
Yeah, so when it comes to that, I only look into the lens at specific times when I want to make a clear point, or if I'm trying to be intentional with what I want to say. So again, it's thinking about when you're in a room with someone, you don't want to necessarily always look into their eyes. Sometimes you do want to look away. Sometimes it's okay to look away. So it's just, my nose. So now I'm it's warm. So I'm noticing these things, right? Anyway. And I think because there's levels of being more relaxed. Sorry, now I'm aware of the time as well. So it's like making things more normal is what I mean. So one of the things is filler words. And a lot of people say, don't use any filler words. And there is a lot of truth to that. But the ironic thing is when working in TV, in documentaries, and you're editing real people, you want to leave in the ums and the ahs. Why? Because it's natural conversation. It's how we naturally converse. And when you take them all out, it actually can create a feeling that feels a bit more fake. It can feel more clean and more professional. So it's always about the balance. Filler words, if you're every single time using filler words, and then you start to sound uncertain and you can lose credibility. But if you're doing it the odd one or two times, it doesn't matter because that's what natural conversation's like. So it's that kind of thing of understanding that what we're trying to do when we're presenting on camera is still keeping that natural way of being. Still, it's allowing yourself to look every so often, to question or just be silent and be thoughtful, and to play with the levels of your voice, so not being monotone, because a lot of people, this is one of the killers for sounding confident, is when you just talk like this, because your audience get bored pretty quickly when your voice is like this, if it's just one level.
And everyone has dropped out in this time. But it does make a difference. It's also when you look at other people's content, that's the more aware you become of those things, the more you know it's like, that's why it's a bit cool. Because we don't have that much time left, there are 3 questions I ask all of my podcast guests. And one of them is, would you ever go back to a permanent job?
That's a good one. Yeah, you do ask that. And yeah, I never really was in a permanent job, but editing is an interesting one because it's a traditional career. A lot of your other episodes, they're people who their freelance gigs are all online. So when I do a freelance editing job, it becomes like being an employee because you have to go to this office or post-production house, and it's really nice. They give you tea and coffee. So would I go back to that? Probably. In terms of freelance, it's still freelance though. Would I go back to a permanent job? I would not. No, because there's just there's just so much freedom, isn't there? Like, as a freelancer, even as an editor, I know that this job is going to end in about a few weeks to a few months. So, and it pays well, so it's fine. And then I can F off to another country, which I did last year, to Poland and stuff. So yeah, it's the freelance life is just, it's in the word, isn't it? Free.
Mm,
You're
exactly.
free. You're a bit more free than, yeah.
If you could go back in time to, where do we put you? Where you got caught editing, even though you were supposedly having 5 years ahead of you before you were allowed to do that, because you tried to skip the corporate ladder. What would you today tell your past self?
I would say do what you're doing, man. Like, just stay focused. Like, don't be sidetracked from what other people are saying, because it's so easy to get put off. And it would have been easy for that version of me to shrink and be like, no, I'll do it. I'll just stay. And yeah, you just have to take the risk and be a bit ballsy. And it does pay off. It actually does, right? It's going to be slower than you might anticipate, but it will get there as long as you keep taking those steps in the right direction.
Nice. Mic drop. But one more question.
Yeah.
If your future self, 5 years from now, if they would come back to you today, so 5 years from now, imagine what you'd be. You're probably fully transitioned to coaching. Maybe you still do a bit of editing here and there. Maybe you're back in Thailand. Maybe you're going to be somewhere else. What do you think your future self would tell you today?
Also, a good question. My future self would say, Liz is good. Like, listen to what Liz says. Like, like the messaging, there's so many people out there. So to be honest, when I think, so I actually do something called future, is it like, it was Hormozy who says it, writing to your past, to your current self as your future self. And so I would meditate on this, and I had it written down, but my future self basically was saying to me, yeah, be you. Like, that it's hard, especially the transition. Like, you have so much potential. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for getting me to where you are today. Thank you for going through the hardships that you're going through now in order to get me to where I am today. Things are so much easier now. Life is so much better. People are coming to you. People are asking for your help. You're feeling fulfilled, helping so many people. And there is a real harmonious vibe. You're able to have holidays with your family and actually fund those holidays with your family. It starts saying stuff like that. So I had to get into meditative state because to remind myself what that version of me says. But it's true. When times get hard, which fluctuates these days, it's a bit of both. I do have to remind myself that, and I have to listen to voice notes that people have sent me where they're like, oh my God, what you've done is so good. Because if I start getting nervous or anxious about what I'm doing, then that's always good.
Yeah, I have a little folder of that where I put all the good feedback, no matter if it's friends or work or whatever, that if I have a bad day, I just go through that. So keep those voice notes. It's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta, yeah. Thank you so much, Liz. It's really good.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Any of the listeners who want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
I'm at Conscious Ricardo on, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And then when it comes to LinkedIn, it's ricardo.a.clarke. And yeah, I would just stay with the socials. I have got a website as well, wearethenow.tv, but you can find that through the socials as well.
I really loved talking with Ricardo today. Not sure if you could tell in the edit that we had a lot of technical issues, which is why the conversation might not have been as fluid as other ones. But if you didn't notice, that's just more proof on how you just see the edited version online. If you want to improve how you come across on camera, including Zoom calls, you can book a call with Ricardo via the links in the show notes. If you like this episode, please leave a review and hit the follow button. This helps the Freelance Blueprint get suggested to more freelancers like you. And feel free to share this episode with anyone you think can benefit from listening. That's all from me, and I can't wait to have you join again next week. Bye!